Shabbat Shalom. Share a little bit of Torah with everybody as we start a new book of Vayikra. So this week we begin a new book. It's a new journey in our wisdom teachings. It's called Leviticus, or in Hebrew it's called Vayikra. So in Judaism, we usually take the name of the book by one of the first words of the book, whereas in Latin, they choose a name that summarizes the content of the book. So for Latin, Leviticus, it means it's dealing with all of the work that the Levites do in the sanctuary, and the priests as well. Whereas the Hebrew word for the book, Vayikra, is the first word. So that first word, Vayikra, and he called. Who calls? God calls. Vayikra el Moshe. Who does he call to? To Moses, to each and every one of us. So when I look at these two names, I'm seeing a partnership blossom. God calls out to Moshe, to the Moses within each and every one of us. And then we, in return, dedicate ourselves to care for and cultivate our sanctuary and our relationship to God, whatever our sanctuary might be and wherever we might be in our relationship to God. Vayikra is the midpoint in the 5 books of the Torah, with 2 books on either side. For the Me'or Einayim, Rabbi Menachem Twersky from Chernobyl, beginning of the 18th century, the positioning of this book of Vayikra in the middle can teach us something about the midpoint, perhaps, in all of our journeys. He teaches us that the matter is thus. God brings us forth from Egypt, from a place of suffering. And right then, God gives us the commandments of Passover and of Brit Milah, of circumcision. Then God splits the sea for us, and afterwards, walking through it, we enter into the wilderness. And we are led by a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. Then God gives us Torah, teaching, ethical wisdom. And after that, asks us to build a tabernacle, a sanctuary, a place that God, the ineffable, might dwell, the miraculous might dwell within us. We know this line, Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocha, make for me a place of sanctuary, whatever that might mean, so that I can dwell bitocham. We've learned this before, not just within it, but so that I might dwell within you. So Rabbi Twersky says, this is like a person who has always dwelt in a place of darkness, never having seen light. If you brought this person out into the daylight, he or she would not be able to stand all the brightness. You have to expose each and every one of us gradually. First, you make a narrow opening so that you can see just a bit of light. Then you broaden it until it becomes a window. Only then can you take us out into the open air and show us all of the light. So it is with Israel, with all of us God wrestlers. In Egypt, in a place of suffering, we were immersed in 50 measures of defilement or suffering. Had God shown us all the brilliance of this presence immediately, we would not have been able to bear it. We needed all of these steps along the ways, all the little bits and pieces of each of the stories of the Torah along the way to slowly open us up. But the whole purpose of this journey was Ve'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham, make for me a place where I can reside within you. The story of the 5 books of the Torah is God's way of slowly revealing and creating a relationship with us, within us, calling us and meeting us, each and every one of us, at our own pace, so that we might in turn open and receive this relationship. And so this is how this 3rd book, Vayikra, opens, with a call to memory, and also a call to action. Our tradition teaches us that we are co-creators with the divine. We have been given the greatest gifts of all, relationship, life, and this earth. We have also been tasked with this holy work of partnering with God to enhance and care for each and every one of us and for this planet. The earth is an unfinished project, and we too are constantly spiritually evolving, learning about the miracle and the mystery of life with eyes that are full of wonder and of curiosity. These gifts we always explore together in our rituals and in our practices. By taking the teachings of Torah and the sacred technology of Jewish ritual that have been developed over thousands of years, and when we include them in our lives right now, the mystery slowly becomes revealed. And it is through this gradual practice, dedicated practice and process, that all the mysteries and gifts unfold and can ultimately be felt. The book of Exodus, which we had just finished, is completed with the details and the construction of the sanctuary, the tabernacle. A home is built where God can meet us and we can remind ourselves of the miraculousness of every moment. Rabbi Arthur Green, reflecting on the teaching of the Me'or Einayim, demonstrates why this book lies at the center of the 5 books of Torah. The Me'or Einayim, Rabbi Twersky, uses a version of this well-known parable of a man dwelling in a cave. We can think about Plato and the Republic, as a way of saying that all of Torah's narrative has been leading up to this point, the moment of the call, Vayikra, to serve. The whole story of Exodus, including the elaborate instructions of the tabernacle, is a preparation for this sacred call. So too, our own narratives. We think about our own lives. All of our life stories up to this moment are there to prepare us for that call. The tabernacle, the sanctuary, is being prepared within our heart. It is from there that the word calls to us. Everything else leads up to this. This is the teaching hiding behind the first words of this 3rd book, Vayikra, and the great mystery called. But what does it mean to be called? When looking at the Torah, the scroll, the last letter of this word, Vayikra, the aleph, is smaller than all of the other letters. It is a miniature, it is a micro aleph, a fraction of the size of all the other letters in this word, and in fact all the other letters in the whole of the Torah. But though it's small in stature, its teaching is paramount. It is called the aleph zera, the little aleph. It's like the little aleph that could. My teacher, Rabbi Len Levin, relates that his favorite interpretation for this small aleph is from Rabbi Abraham Saba from the 15th century in Lisbon. He says that perhaps the reason for the small aleph is that Moses, in his humility, distanced himself from assuming authority and would run away and make himself small until God had to call him. That is why it is written, Vayikra el Moshe, that the source of all life called to Moses with a small aleph. My teacher, Rabbi Ingber, offers that we can break this word Vayikra up into 2 words, Vayikar, the first letters, and then aleph, which would mean a precious aleph. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Zichron Levacha, may his memory be for a blessing, teaches us that this letter aleph is the word that precedes the bet of Breshit. It is also the first letter of the alphabet, the first letter of the 10 Commandments, the first letter of the word that God utters at Mount Sinai, Anochi I. It's this cosmic aleph. Rabbi Sachs writes, the letter aleph is almost inaudible. Its appearance in the Torah at the beginning of Vayikra is almost invisible. Do not expect, the Torah is intimating, that the presence of God in history will always be clear and unambiguous as it is during the Exodus from Egypt and of the division of the sea. For much of the time, it will depend on our own sensitivity. For those who look, it will be visible. For those who listen, it can be heard. But first you have to look and listen. If you choose not to see or hear, then Vayikra will become Vayikar. The call will be inaudible. Vayikra, and God called. Not and God spoke. God calls out to each and every one of us with the yearning and desire for us to peel back the layers and separate the distance that we have and remind us of a unity that underlies all at the core. God calls out to me and to you, reminding us that life is so precious, that precious little aleph, each one of us a precious little aleph. God calls, and it is our choice whether or not to listen. And the message: make space for me in your life. Just like this little aleph makes space for all the other letters on the parchment. The little aleph is calling upon us to be more aware and sensitive to our surroundings. Who do my words affect? Who is near me? Who is calling out to me? What am I missing? What am I not hearing? The little aleph calls us to seek out those small and often unnoticed moments, each a miracle in themselves, and to remind us that there are actually no small moments in life, that each moment is a precious little aleph, one following the next, each an opportunity to see God's presence within, each an opportunity to fill with the miracles and to feel the miraculous. Vayikra, and the source of all life, calls us not only to experience the sacred dimension of life, but also to be the creators of them. We create a sanctuary for God to dwell with when we infuse our actions and relations with all of these grand and gentle gestures. God's presence, Rabbi Petkowski, my teacher, suggests, is felt in the small gestures that do not make the news. The moments that enrich one person's life at no cost of our own. The gesture that makes a difference and that a person will never forget. When we read the word Vayikra, may it remind us today that we are all being called upon to honor and cherish all the moments we are faced with throughout our lives. All the challenging moments, all the beautiful moments. Draw a little aleph. Maybe close your eyes and envision this little aleph. And may it be the silent whisper that draws you into the center of each moment. And from the center, may we then turn outwards and shine onto each other, as God continually calls us at all moments. This is the infinite song, the endless moments, full of opportunity to hear the sacred call of life. Vayikra. Shabbat Shalom. So we get a chance to turn back now again and sing that song, Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Think about what it means to be a sanctuary, right? And I've said it over this past year that this idea of space has become so flexible and so expansive, and really an opportunity for us to really re-examine what does space mean for communal gathering, right? We're being tasked right now to really explore and do some deep work as a community to really understand what that means to gather together. What does it mean to gather together? How? What does the space look like, right? And to be open to learning the possibility of new dimensions of space. Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Make for me a sanctuary so that I can dwell within you. Wherever we are, the sanctuary is within each and every one of us.